I'm Wayne Campbell. Excellent. Welcome to Wayne's World 2. Let me bring you up to speed. Come on. There's a lot to tell you, so let's take the scenic route. All right.
Wayne's World 2 came about because Wayne's World 1 did well. That's how it came about.
I think the just after the first weekend, after it broke records, box office records, I think then people went, well, there'll probably be a sequel, and I think people who hadn't been paying much attention to it before, because there wasn't much money in it, began to pay a lot more attention to it.
When I heard that there's going to be a Wayne's World 2, I lobbied really hard and made sure that I was in Wayne's World 2, because sometimes they change the story and they get away from the original intent.
In some ways it would be more interesting than the first one because it's kind of eclectic and a little off-kilter, maybe a little more bizarre, and stretches the envelope a little bit.
Good morning, darling.
I'd worked with Steve Surgic on Kids in the Hall, and he'd done some remarkable work on the films for that show. And he was Canadian, and as are Mike and I think we just felt comfortable on sensibility.
Working in television with comedians and actors was a very good background experience for working with people like Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, people that are comedians, that are writing their own material.
I knew of him because he had worked with the Kids in the Hall up in Toronto, but I really got to know him on the movie. Really talented filmmaker, great guy, great sense of humor.
Hard to walk into that franchise with all these voices around him. Did a really good job under hard circumstances. Because we'd all done the first one, and he's coming in as the outsider in the second one.
It's actually very similar to working in series television in a way. You come in, you're the new guy, you respect the relationships that are existing, and they're generally, respect you in return, and they certainly did, and they were both very, all of them were very, the Turners, the Myers, the Carveys, the Michaels, they all brought me in and made me part of their dysfunctional family.
Wayne had ended pretty happy at the end of the first picture, so it was, what would the next challenge be?
We're gonna put on a concert in Aurora.
That's a great idea.
Woodstock and the 60s have always been on my mind. I still think it's a ripoff that my teen rebellion years were in the late 70s and not the late 60s.
You're serious about putting on a rock concert?
Are you kidding? I'd give my right eye.
For me personally, the Woodstock thing was kind of like an early sort of transition to Austin Powers with 60s stuff.
To the Mirthmobile!
The Mirthmobile!
There had to be some progression out of the basement now that he had his own show, and everybody I knew growing up in Toronto who moved out of their parents' house ended up in this part of Toronto that was all factories. I used to laugh at everyone saying, oh yeah, my apartment used to be, they used to make chainmail, and my apartment used to be an auto body place, because there's this thing that everyone ended up getting apartments that used to be factories. So we decided to make it a place that makes dolls' heads.
So here we are in our new surroundings, the abandoned Acme Doll Factory in downtown Aurora, Illinois. Come on in. Nice digs, huh?
Wayne, I would like you to meet my father.
The kung fu fight with the father is my favorite part.
James Hong plays my father in Wayne's World 2, and I, of course, an actress coming up, I've seen him everywhere, like every show that calls for an Asian is like James Hong. Very seasoned actor, yeah. I think he must have done 300, 400, 500 films at this point. Perfect as my father. When they got into that sword fight, that was crazy, over the top.
He did some of his stunts, and I did none of my stunts. And I felt bad because I believe he's older than me, and he did a lot of, he did a couple of tumbles and stuff. I just know I'm going to break something.
There was an example of Mike's writing that's pushing the envelope in a cool way. and like risking losing the core audience, but doing it in a very smart, cool, weird way to have Sammy Davis and Jim Morrison out in the desert.
I want you to meet a friend of mine, Sammy Davis Jr.
Wow. Nice to meet you, Mr. Junior.
Nice to meet you too, man. I got a split, man. I got some cats I gotta hang with.
My father passed away, and I was sort of on kind of a spiritual journey, looking for answers, and that's what was on my mind at the time.
Keep the faith, my friend.
The silly answer is that the entire sequence came for that one line, which was, but did we really have to see that Native American guy's butt?
Didn't you think it was a trifle unnecessary to see the crack in the Indian's bottom?
Yes, absolutely. Young man, there's no need to feel down.
The YMCA scene in Wayne's World 2 is just, I mean, I don't know how many people I've seen doing YMCA. I mean, because of course that was a resurgence for Village People after the film came out.
It's fun to dance in sequence. I've always been a huge Village People fan.
Christopher Walken is a charming bad guy, although in life he's a very charming good guy.
That was a thrill, just to be in a scene with him talking at me. It was a thrill. Just look up and Christopher Walken is actually acting with me.
Bobby, can I ask you a question?
What is it, Garth?
A sphincter says what?
You want me to say what? Like, I don't get it. Is that it?
Chris Walken is someone who I watched act from from a distance for years and years and years, and he has a certain mythological quality to him. So when they said that Chris Walken was, agreed to do that role, I started to get a little nervous about it. I mean, frankly, I was, when it came right down to it, we were on set on the first day, and we were working, and I remember the scene, we were in the mixing studio, and Mike was standing, and he threw his line out, and I wanted him to be a little bit closer, to get a little bit closer to him, but when I walked up to him, and my teeth were chattering as I spoke to him. I mean, I was horrified of this. But he was the most gracious and the most insightful and open actor that I had worked with.
Everybody has this whole image of Chris Walken as being really dark and spooky and creepy and everything, and I just think he's wacky. I just laughed all day long. He just has this funny way of putting things. His cadence is a little off and when he speaks.
I'm working with them. I'm still in this studio in Aurora.
He's one of those people that's sort of a hidden treasure in comedy. When you have years and years of casting working for you, in the sense of somebody having played a villain, that people don't know that they can also do comedy, and almost invariably they can.
To think that he was a Broadway dancer, and I said, "You sure you're gonna?" He's like, "Yeah." Lifts me up, spins me around. It was just hilarious. I swing dance with Chris Walken. I'm the luckiest girl in the world.
He's he's a triple threat. He's actually a quadruple threat. The fourth one involves physical violence. Good night.
I just kind of thought, well, maybe Garth gets a girlfriend. And then Kim Basinger called and said, can she play Garth's girlfriend? So I said, all right.
I'm Honey, Horney.
Nice to meet you, Miss Horny.
That's Horney. It's French.
Kim was someone who was like the most beautiful woman in the world, who was also a great actor, and she was suddenly coming onto set. When she came out of makeup after and wardrobe, this is a beautiful woman to begin with. When she came out of that room, she was resplendent. She was perfect.
I'd never seen any skin like that in my life. I'd never seen anyone look like that in person. She was just like glowing. When you're around genetically perfect people who, like in the game of genetic roulette, they kind of got everything, like, perfect leg, perfect eyes, you just feel so dumpling-esque, You just feel so just mushy and chinless. With the Kim Basinger scenes, I decided to just go right down the middle, vaudevillian, puns, basically. And I was shocked how well they played at the preview.
Take me, Garth.
Where? I'm low on gas and you need a jacket.
I'm gonna be frank.
Okay. Can I still be Garth?
I did like when he did the laundry and then his underwear had shrunk to nothing. So he's trying to be really macho for her. And then she goes, hey, you dropped this? And his underwear about this big. I did like that image of a guy trying to be cool and he's got this little tiny underwear.
We were doing a scene where we were reproducing we're doing an homage to a scene out of The Graduate. And we were in a doorway, and the guy comes in. The actor is supposed to come in and say something, and the gag was that then the director is supposed to say, "Oh, this guy can't act. We need a new actor." And he brings in a good actor, who is Charlton Heston, and he performs this, and then we move on with our sketch. Mike made me play the director. I took the bad actor out. I put Charlton Heston in, and then he performed the scene.
Gordon Street. Oh yes, Gordon Street. I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street a long time ago.
It was a bit of an intimidating experience for me. Charlton Heston is over 6'2", and he towered over me, and I had to push him in the scene. And it was the extent of my acting in that particular scenario, and it's the first and last time I will be involved in something like that.
I am Björgen Kjörgen.
Wow, I love your accent. Where are you from?
I'm from Sweden.
I'm a big Drew Barrymore fan. I didn't know how we could get her into the movie, but Mike and Robin sort of solved that for us.
I hope to make love to you in the near future.
Well, Schmergen, there is a God.
Heather be thy name.
I remember Heather Locklear in the scene where we were doing the concert scene, and she was standing there in this outfit, and and the place got really quiet, and I realized everyone was staring at Heather Locklear just standing there.
Bobby!
Heather!
Are you coming?
Oh, yeah, we're
I think we wanted Aerosmith for the first movie, but I think they decided not to do it, and I think on the second one, I think they saw the first one and thought it'd be cool to do it.
Even through my punk rock and my mod phase and my new wave phase and all that stuff, I still listen to Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin and all those bands, and they're sort of guilty private pleasures.
That was the coolest thing about Wayne's World 2, getting to be like rub elbows with rock legends.
I remember working with the band and shooting all night long with these guys. You know, they were very, very good to work with, and they were extremely disciplined in their work.
Let's go!
In the mosh pit of the concert, we had to have hundreds of stunt people because Mike was, flipping on top of them, and we needed, for insurance reasons and for security reasons, we didn't want Mike falling through. We wanted big, strong guys to be able to hold him up. So remember, we had hundreds of stunt people.
It's like 1,000 fingers urging you to let go.
I'm having fun!
One of the things that I think we did pretty well is the sense of no money fun. And that's, we had a lot of that growing up because, there was just way less to do then.
Yes, I'd like rulers, a ox, and a Makita cup.
Oh, well, let me try to recap the order. A crawler, 2 sugar pucks, a raspberry jelly donut, orange drink, and a box of 5 holes.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that making people laugh is at least as important as making them cry through something. And I think that people really need to laugh, they enjoy laughing, and it's really a noble profession to make films that make people laugh.
I promised myself I wouldn't cry. And party on!
I'm not happy. Help, Wayne! Wayne!
Action! Check, sibilance, and cut.